Hello, and welcome to your Online Strength Coach podcast, episode 35. When to use supportive equipment as a raw lifter. How's it going? It's currently Wednesday the 26th of August 2015. Pointed out on the bottom of the last episode, which I posted on Monday by PL 700 or 7000, that the audio cut off. It was actually a 26-minute, I think a 27-minute long episode. I don't know if I uploaded it too early or stopped the encoding a bit earlier or what happened with it, but ended up losing 5 or 6 minutes off the video. I've checked my backups and my files on the computer, and I've lost actually lost that 5-6 minutes of that content. So that 21-minute episode is just going to be the way it is. And when I upload the podcast to iTunes and the like, it's just going to be. I'll probably mention it on the description of the show, but it's just going to be 21-minute long episodes, which is probably too long for this podcast anyway. But I ended up getting a bit too in depth with my descriptions and stuff. But hopefully you pick something up out of those 21 minutes. There wasn't really too much in the conclusion. Covered most of it within 21 minutes, which is kind of a bit more of a practical explanations within the end of that episode. Today's episode isn't actually a question pertaining to the podcast, but I thought it was a good topic anyway, so I thought I'd go ahead and record an episode for it. I will be recording another episode straight after this for a question that was asked on the abdominal podcast. This question comes from Michael. It's under my training video from yesterday. He asks, how come you don't train with belts, wrist wraps, or knee sleeves at the minute? And that's the question. I thought I'd use this as a jumping off point just to kind of talk about where I stand on supportive equipment in brackets for unequipped lifters. I think if you look at the way that equipped lifters train, I think you can take some things out of that as an unequipped lifter. So if for example, with a bench shirt or with a squat suit is probably a better example. What they will do when they're not in training mode for competition, they might go to training with wraps and a belt only, or they might train belt only for a little period. Then after a while, once they've kind of got to a standard or they're within a certain time threshold within a competition, if they're going belt only, maybe then they introduce knee sleeves. They'll train with that period, and then again, depending if they've hit a certain threshold strength-wise or they are closer to competition, then they'll introduce the squat suit. They'll introduce the squat suit straps down, so that means you just put the suit on and then put the belt on, but then put the straps up. And put the straps up, increases the stretch of the suit, increases the pressure, which increases the amount of weight you can get out of the suit. They'll train with that for a certain time period, maybe 3-4 weeks, whatever it ends up being. Again, it depends on time. It can be on a timeline, or it can be on a strength threshold. They might have certain numbers that they might want to hit in a competition, or certain numbers they might want to hit in the training cycle, and they'll know in the condition of belt, knee sleeve, straps down on a squat suit, what they'll need to be able to hit the depth before they can move on. Then they'll go straps up, and straps up's pretty much full noise, and then they'll train to a certain point in the suit, or they'll train to a certain weight threshold, maybe try to get something to depth, or they'll train to a certain weight threshold, maybe a triple, or they'll have a weight for 3 that they know they need to hit before they can hit the single in comp. So if you look at that in the terms of raw lifting within powerlifting, you can use 3 things. You can use knee sleeves, which if you use SBDs or use tight rebands or SBDs, either of the two, you're going to get some carryover. Now, you're not going to, maybe it's not going to add 10, 15, 20 kilos. Maybe it's not going to add anything, but certainly psychologically, it's going to add something. Sorry about that. Certainly it adds something to, whether psychologically or physically, it's going to add, maybe increases the amount of effort that you feel you're able to put within a set. Maybe you feel you can train harder. or maybe you can physically actually lift more, but that adds a certain amount of intensity, or adds a greater level of intensity to your lifting. And then with the belt as well, the belt adds another level of intensity to your lifting. I know some people would see it as a safety device. It's not a safety device. It increases the inter-abdominal pressure and allows you to lift heavier loads. It's pretty much that simple when it comes to that. It increases the structural integrity of your trunk, which stops that being the weak link, which means you can train with greater loads. I mean, it's fairly straightforward in that sense. So, and then wrist wraps as well. They don't actually make you lift more, but they may be able to, again, with the knee sleeve, whereas the knee sleeve might actually add some kilos. A wrist wrap will not add kilos, but it will, again, add a bit of peace of mind. Might make you be able to train harder, train at higher intensities. You may be able to handle heavier weights, be more confident with those heavier weights, and thus your training intensity increases. What I like to do for the vast majority of my training, when I don't have a competition coming up or I'm not trying to hit certain numbers, I like to train pretty much with only weightlifting shoes. Reason being, I actually find it's probably the best injury prevention tool that I've ever used, because I'll only use weights that either A, I'm confident enough to use, like I'm never really pushing outside of my comfort level and lifting like that. So basically, like, I get stronger with the program, whereas like maybe my heaviest I've went with this condition probably would have been yesterday, 210 for 4 sets of 6 on the squat. Maybe a year, 2 years ago, 210 for 6 might have been a very heavy lift for me. Might have been wraps, knee sleeves, maybe something I wouldn't have done for sets and reps. But I'm doing that without those kind of crutches or without those additions, which means when I go on to do a comp cycle, so if I have a comp prep plan, I know I want to hit X and Y lifts, then when I come to do that cycle and I add the wraps, the knee sleeves, when I had the knee sleeves and the belt, my training weights are probably going to jump up 20 to 30 kilos for sets and reps. And I've found when I train with the belt, my ability to push myself is much greater. For instance, what's a good example? My best probably 10 rep set without a belt is, I don't know, maybe 200 kilos on deadlift. Whereas my best 10 rep set with a belt is 230 with the belt and the deadlift. So that gives me, it just gives you more room to play with. You can, like, without a belt, when you're pushing for maybe a rep out set or a rep to failure set in a deadlift or in a squat, you might find with, say, 80% of your RM, you might fail, or you might feel like you can't push through your back anymore at, say, rep 6, whereas with the belt you might be able to push past the 14, 15 reps, because it's gonna sure up. And most people tend to wear the belt over where they feel they're weak in their trunk. So for taller guys, it tends to be a bit higher up. For shorter guys, it tends to be a bit lower down. People with better lifting technique, quote unquote, better lifting technique, people who squat more upright tend to wear it low. People who squat low bar tend to wear it higher. People tend to wear it higher in deadlift. Basically, people find where on their trunk they're weak, and they tend to put it over the top of it to kind of secure it up. Which means that you don't take out, but you secure massively the weak point in your kinetic chain, which means you can push to much higher intensities and much higher levels. Which I found in the past when I train in the belt, I'm very prone to pick up things like tendinopathies in the glute, stiff backs, certainly around the hip and low back area. I tend to pick up a lot more problems. Whereas I haven't worn the belt. I have been wearing these sleeves off and on, but I haven't worn the belt in training for probably 15, 16 months now, and I'm completely injury free. I have a little bit of shoulder problems, but those are ongoing chronic issues that aren't the fault of any training equipment. I've just got fucked shoulders. And then when it comes, so I get stronger, I don't get hurt, I find, which is obviously the best case scenario. And then when I know for a fact when I chuck on a belt, when I chuck on these sleeves, I'm going to get extra kilos, so those kilos are waiting for me. So the stronger I can get out of that stuff, the stronger I'm going to be when I chuck that stuff on. So I just find it's an injury way. It's the best way to train injury free for me. Other people might say different, but I don't really have any evidence to support this opinion. This is just the way I feel with my training. I find this works a lot, very, very, very well for me. It's something that I certainly would encourage lifters I train to do in preparation phases when they don't have competitions coming up, is to lose the belt, lose the sleeves, and train and get as strong as you can without it. And then when it comes to comp prep, then you wear what you wear and you do what you do, because you're here to lift as much weight as you can, not to give yourself a training. I hope that answers your question. Hope that puts across my opinion on this matter. That's pretty much all I'm looking to do, is put across my opinion on why I think it's a good idea to not wear knee sleeves, not wear a belt, and not wear wrist wraps. If you can get away with it, if you're in kind of general preparation phase. For me, it's for injury prevention, but it's a way of not using those things as crutches within your training. Like, for example, if I was to rock up to a gym and I forgot my weightlifting shoes, I can still do a squat workout. I can still do a deadlift workout. I can still do a bench press workout. Where some people, if they were to rock up to a gym and they forgot their gym bag and they got the belt, haven't got their chalk, haven't got their wraps, haven't got their knee sleeves, haven't got their straps, haven't got their belt, they can't do a workout. I think that's fucking ridiculous, to be honest. Like, as long as you got your body and you're in a gym, you should be able to do a workout. Obviously, you might not be able to work out to a certain intensities. Like, I might not be able to set a PB in a 10 RM squat without those things, but I can still do a workout, you know. It's not... I like to have as little excuses as possible. And also, as a practical thing with this stuff, it means I don't have to carry around a gym bag with my belt, my Anzer lever belt, which is a fucking bitch to carry around. I carry my weightlifting shoes around, but they're a bit of a bitch. These sleeves fucking stink, if I'm being honest, the Rebands, so that's why I haven't been wearing them. That's the God's honest truth on that one. They just fucking stink, so I'm not wearing them at the minute. I'm going to buy some SBDs, but they cost £60, so it's probably going to take a year for me to buy that. I've already been talking about it for a year. And then the wrist wraps, I actually ain't got a pair. Well, I got a pair, but I've lost ones that wear them. And that's the honest bit about it. But that preceding stuff about the injury prevention, the training without it, that's the God's honest truth too. I do believe that. Okay, hope that's answered your question, Michael. I thought you're probably looking for a quick text answer, not a 13-minute video, but you got a 13-minute video, so hope you like it. Cheers, and I'll see you soon for episode 36. Can't stop till I see my name on the blimp. Guarantee me yourself pulling up.